try not to give you guys a lot of part ones and part twos,
but we just talk
do it a lot because we really thought that an hour was going to be way too hard to fill, and then I like looked over and I was like, oh crap. This is fun, but also it brings up a lot of things that I'm sure we're going to have some conflicting feelings about.
Okay.
Because this is part two to last week's episode. So if you haven't gone and listened, we'll wait. Okay, cool. So you're all caught up. Welcome back. So where we left off is where we're going to pick back up again with the whole. So we left off with like talking about how viral moments on stage have become the way to like draw people out to crowds now. And unfortunately, the way that music is consumed and everything, and we talk about it so often because it's really a free-for-all. Every couple months is like, I mean, if you even just go back and think about the fact that when we first started in the music industry, people were like, okay, you have to have good social numbers. And now it's like over COVID, it was, okay, now you have to have something go viral on TikTok to get signed. And now it's this and all of this stuff. What?
Hello, welcome to the Music Lens podcast.
No, I was going to say that after I recap. It's like, you know, when you're watching a TV show and you got to go through what happened last episode.
Oh, okay.
And then you leave it on the cliffhanger and then you start the intro music and then you start the episode, you know?
Okay.
We're not in the intro yet. We're at the recap. So we're recapping. I
want you to forget.
No, well, I probably would have, so that's probably fair. We're recapping still. So, and how things have been all drawn out, and life is difficult for musicians even more so now because unless you have a viral thing, but viral things are so fleeting and you got to stay true to yourself. That's where we're leaving it at, and we're picking it back up today with what Chappell Roan has said, and hopefully this is not too far out, and hopefully nothing new comes out because we're double booking today ourselves. And so now intro time. So hi, welcome to the Music Lens podcast with me, Alex Allegra.
And Katie Fee.
Thank you, Katie. So today,
speaking of,
there's a dog.
You didn't hear that on the mic, but there was a dog that just barked outside. So
today we're going to pick up with, we talk about a lot, obviously, on this podcast, and the reason it's created, and I say that so often. Also, I think that we've done this for like a whole year, and it's like, oh my god, we've done so many. Like, we are only on episode 28.
Yeah.
We haven't been in the grand schemes of things, we haven't really been doing it a whole lot. I think
it is half a year, yeah.
We can give ourselves some grace. We can give ourselves some, like, okay, we're doing well for ourselves, you know? I
just did the math. I was like, February, August would be half a year, yeah. So,
yeah. I figured we could start by just basically reading Chappell's post that she, I think it's, honestly, it's long, but I think reading it in its entirety, because there is a lot to digest here. Mm-hmm. I appreciated the fact that she was like, I turned off the comments because it's not a group conversation. And so I wanted to raise that point of, I'm not trying to now give us a platform for it to be a conversation, because I think she makes a lot of good points here. I think it's more the conversation of, well, how did we even end up in this situation? And so I think I'm going to kind of go back in time, and it made me think maybe if you guys liked this as a conversation of where we ended up, we can do more of the history stuff and go back and kind of see how media has evolved a lot over the last couple of years. I definitely think it's interesting to see that. And I think it also gives a lot more context of, you know what, she's right, and we have a right to just be people at the end of the day.
Yeah. Being an artist is an occupation and not your entire life. There's more to life than that. So
yeah. So I figured I would just go ahead and read it for those of you who have not seen it. I mean,
I don't remember if I've read it. I've seen like videos of her talking about stuff.
And I know a lot of it has gotten picked apart. So I think just to read it in its entirety. And I will say, this was the first time an artist has done something like this. And even I'll admit, haven't been like, oh shit, she's a bitch. Like, this was the first time I read it and was like, holy shit, she is a person making a point.
Right. And there's been other people, like, which we can get into later, but there's been people, like, stitching the videos that I saw and sharing their stories of it, too, like Lizzo. And then there's, like, this random guy who was even just in a commercial that had some experiences and stuff.
I think the way that it's presented to it and the way that she did it was not to say like, oh, again, I'm not trying to diminish anything, and like this is such a delicate topic in terms of a lot of people are going to misinterpret like and take it to a very personal level for themselves, which is so unnecessary. And I think it goes to, we can talk, this whole topic brings up a lot with how artists are treated in things such as meet and greets and, you know, on stage and like just even from a safety perspective.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it was like a really important thing. And this was kind of more the mental health check-in that I wanted to talk about, because I think it's just important. I mean, it's scary enough just being a woman in this world. So then adding a level of like this fame where people automatically know you and think that they are owed something by you. Right. I can see how scary that would be. So I think what we should be taking to a personal level is the fact that like, if you are a woman, if you are somebody that is marginalized, and especially in the United States, take a look at how people treat you as a person on a daily basis. And if you have anything that like is relatable to like how scary this world can be, then try adding a level of like that. And then maybe it'll put you, if you're one of those people, in your place a little bit more that are very hurt by the things she is saying. And like I said, I think that the way that sometimes it is presented, and like when people just kind of lash out because they've just come to their boiling point with it does make it look like, wow, she's just a bitch and is not grateful for all the things she has, or he, because men do it as well. I think, you know, obviously the reason that men versus women get different treatments about that has to do with the level of sexualization that women get over men, and like the way that sexualization is perceived with men. And it kind of goes back to a lot of other points of how things are looked at, unfortunately.
And just like the stereotypicalness of like men being more assertive and stuff like that is like, people are more used to that than women being assertive. So then it becomes such
more of a problem when a woman does it.
It shouldn't,
and I think I haven't seen anybody take any side other than like, do you guys hear what she's saying? Like, let's all take a moment to listen. Yeah. Now, that might just be the sides of the internet that I am on, which is a very supporting and loving community a lot of times, because that's all that I can handle and take, because I also just think that having human rights in general is a good thing. And so I kind of put myself in those algorithms that kind of agree with those statements. So like,
makes sense. Yeah.
But I also get, if they're saying it, it's probably happening that I'm just not seeing, you know, not even probably, it is happening and I'm just not seeing. Like, let's not diminish somebody's experience here. And stop with people just trying to use all the buzzwords and all that stuff, because that's not what she did here at all. And she has said from day one how scary this is, and the fact that she has had to go so far as to make a post on her Instagram detailing this should really put into perspective that it has not stopped after she has asked numerous times. So like,
should you read the post?
Yes, let's just start by reading the post here. So, for the past 10 years, I've been going nonstop to build my project, and it's come to the point that I need to draw lines and set boundaries. I want to be an artist for a very long time. I've been in too many non-consensual physical and social interactions, and I just need to lay it out and remind you, women don't owe you shit. I chose this career path because I love music and art and honoring my inner child. I do not accept harassment of any kind because I chose this path, nor do I deserve it. When I'm on stage, when I'm performing, when I'm in drag, when I'm at work at an event, when I'm doing press, I am at work. Any other circumstances, I am not in work mode. I am clocked out. I don't agree with the notion that I owe a mutual exchange of energy, time, or attention to people I do not know, do not trust, and who creep me out. Just because they are expressing admiration, women do not owe you a reason why they don't want to be touched or talked to. This has nothing to do with the gratitude and love I feel for my community, for the people who respect my boundaries, and for the love I feel from every person who lifts me up and has stuck with me to help the project get to where it is now. I am specifically talking about predatory behavior, disguised as superfan behavior, that has become more normalized because of the way women who are well known have been treated in the past. Please do not assume you know a lot about someone's life, personality, and boundaries because you are familiar with them or their work online. If you're asking, well, if you don't want this to happen, then why did you choose a career where you knew you wanted to be comfortable with the outcome of success? then why did you choose a career where you knew you wouldn't be comfortable with the outcome of success? Understand this. I embrace the success of the project, the love I feel, and the gratitude I have. What I do not accept are creepy people being touched and being followed. This situation is similar to the idea that if a woman wears a skirt and gets harassed or catcalled, she shouldn't have worn the skirt in the first place. It is not the woman's duty to suck it up and take it. It is the harasser's duty to be a decent person, leave her alone, and respect that she can wear whatever she wants and still deserve peace in this world. I want to love my life, be outside, giggle with my friends, go to the movie theater, feel safe, and do all the things every single person deserves to do. People stop touching me. Please stop touching me. Please stop being weird to my family and friends. Please stop assuming things about me. There is always more to the story. I am scared and tired, and please don't call me Kaylee. I feel more loved than I have ever have in my life. I feel the most unsafe I have ever felt in my life. This is a part of myself that I saved just for my project and all of you. There is a part of my project. There is a part of myself that I saved just for my project and all of you. There is a part of myself that is just for me, and I don't want that taken away from me. Thank you for reading this, and I appreciate your understanding and support. So there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to give ourselves a platform to talk based on her behalf of anything. I do not know Chappell Roan by any means.
Right.
We're probably gonna have to go through Chappell's posts situation by situation, because even when I was reading that and I was making the connection of it being like a woman wearing a skirt and that hit home for me so hard, and I was like, holy shit. I don't know why I'm getting emotional about this, but I think about artists like Christina Grimmie, who I was on when Before You Exit was on that tour with her. I had just seen them perform, and I watched that band be so devastated by what happened there, because people are that think that that man thought he was her.
He thought he was in a relationship
boyfriend,
with
yeah.
her.
And when she announced that she finally was dating somebody, he had such a problem with it and fucking shot her. That is so and I know I shouldn't be emotional about stuff like this because I have nothing to do with it, but that is not how a human being should be treated.
Right.
Stuff like this, the fact that she says no one knows the whole truth is such a big thing of why we started this podcast, because it's this music industry is so much more than people think, and it's so much more than people give it credit for, and too much that sometimes people give it credit for. And the fact that we put celebrities and all this stuff up on these pedestals of the fact it is wrong. And as somebody who wants to be in the music industry and want all that fame and money and all that stuff, I get it. It's glamorous. It's fun. It's what I want. But also it is kind of wrong. The fact that teachers can barely get by, and yet celebrities can go jet setting all over the world and sing and, make life look so easy and painless and all this stuff. I get it. There is a need for both, though. I will say that. I think there is totally a need to have an escape of some kind that is fun and safe. Music really is such a healing thing.
Yeah.
And it deserves to be a healing thing, and everything has good and bad sides to it, but I think music is something that can just have a good side to it and it just be a good thing in life, And so I don't know. Katie, do you want to jump in? Because I'm talking a lot, and I feel like anything I'm going to say could get twisted in some way. So it makes me want to use my words carefully, but also want to discuss this as something that is okay. And why I said, let's take it back is think of Hollywood stars in the beginning. It was this idolized thing in Hollywood, but they were secluded in Hollywood. That was it. You saw them on the silver screen. It was glamour. It was pretty, but it was in this little bubble, and it wasn't good, but it was in this little bubble, and then as time progressed, it was always such, again, the envious thing. And then when social media and when TMZ and when things like that started coming up, then we were getting looks behind the scenes. It wasn't just what was on the screen. It was, oh my God, we get to follow this person's life now. And we get to know every little thing about what they're feeling and how they're going through life. And then it becomes an envious thing. And then it's like, oh, well, we want, but then people never really know how that's gonna, I mean, you can prep and you can plan, but you never know how feeling on that other side is until you're in it. And by the time you're in it, it always feels like you're too far in it. The fact of the matter is Chappell is saying this first and foremost in her career. Her career, like, just took off.
She was, and someone was saying like, that she's a very niche artist, and then all of a sudden, like, in a very short time span, became, like, global superstar level. So, like, that's, like, a lot of adjustment to make in a short amount of time, and just, like, her whole life has changed, and it's a lot. So,
yeah. But, I mean, I think of, like, going back to Christina Grimmie is, like, it doesn't even have to be, like, a huge named artist. Like, she kind of had her moment, and then at that point in her career, she wasn't really, like, huge, but I think she was the headlining tour of that.
Voice or something,
yeah, she was on The Voice.
And then I knew her from, like, YouTube.
Yeah. So it happens at any stage in someone's career that people start to just be like, oh my God, they were on the stage. Oh my God, I got to meet them at this small little club. And then all of a sudden it becomes a thing for them.
Yeah.
And it's just like the second that somebody is in that stage of like being on the stage and being a performer, and that it puts this like little curtain up. So like, it's like all of a sudden there's like a weird power dynamic of like the celebrity and then the people. And it's such an odd power dynamic because it's like, it's not a typical, like, one versus the other. It's, like, how much can the audience person or, like, the fan take from the celebrity to be like them, but also keep them on this pedestal of, like, it's such a weird dynamic. And then TMZ started following people, like, stalking level following people, and it was all for the headlines, and that became such a profitable thing because but like we never were thinking like, oh, there's something wrong with this, because people were just like, oh my God, did you see it? And staying ahead of the magazines and hearing and because if you weren't talking about it, then like you weren't hooked into culture and you weren't hooked into the scene of life. So it becomes this thing. And then now with TikTok and Instagram and stuff, and people building their brands, like, even from an aspect of like, when I worked at my media companies, it was always like, okay, finding your audience has to become a balance of, for every singing post, you have to have one or two personal posts. Like it's even so algorithmic of that kind of thing to draw people in to every aspect of your life. And thinking about it in those terms, it is really creepy and it is really weird. And like, you can't just let your art speak for itself in this industry. And I don't know how long that's been. I think since like, that's why I thought maybe it could be a whole deep dive of history, because to me, it seems like it happened when the TMZ stuff really started in the 90s and 2000s era and with social media, especially now, it is not just enough to be a great actress or a great singer. Like, that's not a thing. Like, you have to have a full package of something. And now that people are just famous to be famous, I mean, those are the people that really just are famous by letting people into their homes, into their lives, into all this stuff. But it becomes very predatory, and people don't know when to stop that, because again, like I said, there's like this veil of like, oh, well, I can't hurt them because I can't and actually.
It's just because they're a celebrity versus like a real person, which is like her one TikTok that I had seen of it's like, what if you just like went up to a random person, you don't know this person, they don't know you, and you just randomly are like, can I get a picture with you? Like, that's weird if you don't know them. Like, that's weird. But because they're a celebrity, then for some reason that makes it okay. So when you talk about like TMZ level, like stalking people and stuff just because it's a celebrity. I guess people accepted that as being something that's okay. But if you just take it of like, don't even mention celebrity, but it's like, oh yeah, this person was like following this girl around with a camera and taking pictures through her window of her house, that's obviously not right.
Yeah.
So I liked her point of that, of like stripping it down, of being like just a person, because ultimately like everyone's human. It's just people. It doesn't matter if they're famous, they're still a person. And I like also the clocking out stuff of, it's a job. There's other aspects of life that's like artists shouldn't have to share with people. They should be able to keep it to themselves or to their friends and family, and they should be able to clock out. Lizzo stitched that video of the I'm just a person thing, and she had like flown on a plane once for just like a personal thing of flying somewhere, and someone asked for a picture, and she kind of just politely was like, oh, can we take it like when we land? She didn't really want to take a picture. She was hoping the person would forget about it because she was not dressed up or anything, and she honestly forgot about it. But the picture, or the person asking, didn't, and like followed her through the airport and was like, hey, can I get my picture? And kind of got a little aggressive about it. And she's like, I'm off the clock. Not sure the person, but in the video was saying like, I'm off the clock. So
yeah,
and tying into that
I
too.
think why this was also part two to the whole Sabrina thing was because with the viral moments, which we were talking about with people having viral moments, and that's the way to get into shows and all this stuff. With people just needing these viral moments, you're losing out on a lot of people that just are so good at their art, so good at their craft, have put their whole life into it, and really deserve a lot of recognition just because they don't have that one viral moment. And again, with all this, it just like really humanized the whole art of being a songwriter and being a singer, and just putting work out there into the world. And it's just like, it's so unfortunate that it comes with all this stuff. And why I say like, I don't really care what people want to say about X, Y, and Z is because like, I'm going to them for their music and stuff. And honestly, their political views, all that stuff, can be put into their art if they want to, and then that's going to determine if I want to listen to their stuff or not, to be honest. Like, that's, I think, where people like, I know Kanye or like Chris Brown became such like, well, do we like them or do we not, is because it was like, can you separate the person from their art? Because they weren't putting themselves into their art. And, you know, I think as much as I do love Taylor, I think she has really, like, for better or for worse, really put the whole celebrity thing into inviting us into her home, because she did the secret sessions and she did all this stuff, and that was so great. But then now we're at a point where she can't even do that stuff because people are just ruining it way too much. It's become way too dangerous to do. The fact that people are taking, I mean, there's so much.
Last summer, was it Jack that got married?
Yeah,
that like they literally Swifties like ruined their rehearsal dinner because they realized Taylor was there and just flocked to the area, and it's a security risk, and it's also ruining someone's like special.
That should never be happening. Like, I don't get, I trust me, I'm the biggest Taylor Swift fan, but like, if I heard she was down the block, like, I would not be going over there. That just
with the exception of, because my brain went to the during the Lover announcing the album and stuff, she was at that mural that was specifically for her, and we were going to go there. But that's specifically for that,
and she was working again. And that was
part of it. That's part of her career. That wasn't like, oh, she's literally going to a friend's wedding. Like, you don't bother someone when they're at a private event like that.
And then I think when people don't have their own version of like a viral moment, when they like go to a concert or stuff, I mean, like, I've had some crazy concert experiences, and after one of those crazy concert experiences, when you don't have something like that happen at the next concert, it feels a little disappointing. So trust me, but then I realize,
I think Nashville gets spoiled with concerts.
That's so stupid that I felt disappointed because I didn't have a like viral moment in my head for like what happened at the concert, or I don't have this like great story about like finding the perfect guitar pick on the ground that they threw just for me. Like, you know, how silly is that? Like, let's really put that into perspective. That's so silly that you would get, like, disappointed. And as much as I want music to be this great grand thing, because obviously I love it so much and I put my heart and soul into it, like, we really can't make it dangerous. Like,
right.
It
yeah.
should never be that. I think it's also, I don't know if it's in this post, but she's also posted about the fact that, like, one day, like, this isn't what she wants to do forever. And I think, did we talk about it in the last video? Or maybe you and I just talked about how
we talked a little bit about it.
It can be fun just to be able to try out so many different careers and stuff. Yeah, I talked about it with Post Malone. Like, why can't we just have fun enjoying different parts of everything? And I mean, I know we're so driven by competition and capitalism and everything like that, that it's like, I mean, it's so hard to, the other problem is that you have to kind of go up the ranks in anything you do these days just to even be able to keep food on the table. Like, it's the problem with starting different careers and stuff is that you start at the bottom a lot of times, and, like, you don't get to just experience and learn new things. By the time you're 30, if you don't have a good solid job, it's like you're kind of fucked in life, like, period.
Yeah.
Which is so unnatural, I think. I mean,
it's the society that's been built.
Yeah.
Which is,
also, I get if you're a fan of that person, and, like, even if it's like, okay, they have all their stuff and, you know, but when you start going after other people in their lives, like, that becomes so weird. Like, I don't want my third cousin to be discovered because I became famous one day. Like,
well, part of it's consent of the kid situation, but I think of, like, that's probably also a reason why, like, Maren Morris doesn't show her son's face online.
Oh, yes, which I think is, to be honest, I hate when celebrities post about their kids, because I'm like, not that it ever should have been in the first place, but there are a lot of creepy people out there. And whenever a celebrity posts about a kid, I just worry for that kid. Yeah. Like, I really, truly do. I'm like, that kid, because you know it's not ever going to escape them depending on the celebrity. Like, it's just, they're out there. Yeah. Like, unfortunately. And I watch a lot of true crime, and a lot of those, like, it's kind of gross and icky, some of the stuff that people do. Like, it's just unfortunate.
Yeah. Trying to think of, I feel like it's related, but I can't think of, like, specifically how it connects. But, like, also there's a lot of Swifties, there's people on both sides, but the whole Vienna thing that happened of her
I wasn't going to bring it up just because I thought she made a really nice statement about that, and I respected a lot of what she said with that.
Because of people who were like, why hasn't she said anything? Like, as if we were owed some sort of statement from her. And
I figured she wouldn't.
She, one...
Hold on, I choked on something. Okay, continue.
So, one... and she did reference this in her post. People were like, well, maybe, like, it could be a government thing of they're telling her not to say anything because it could provoke people, like, maybe they don't have everyone in custody that was involved and something could happen with that. And also, she said to make sure the London shows were still safe, too. And she basically wanted to get out of Europe before saying anything. But people were like, oh, like, she has so many people who are heartbroken because they couldn't go, and she should be saying something about it and all this stuff. But also, aside from, like, safety, she had to deal with it too. Like, that's one of her biggest fears that she said in interviews before of referencing, like, the Manchester concert of Ariana Grande. Like, stuff like that happening is one of her biggest fears, is for people to have something happen and not being able to keep her fans safe. So she was dealing with that trauma too as just a human being, and, like, she should be allowed the time to process that herself and not have to immediately, like, say something to the public.
Yeah.
So just another thing of, like, hey, people are human. Stop demanding that they do stuff for the greater public or whatever.
Or just making the headlines. Like, I think as a human being, we don't always have to just, like, make the headline. And, you know, sometimes I worry that we're, like, covering stories that are already a week old and stuff, and that they're already out of news cycles and stuff. But I'm like, you know what? This needs to be talked about. Like, let's just talk about it. Because I don't think a lot of this stuff is ever, like, things that should be forgotten. Like, it should always be okay. And I know people are going to say, like, we're being too sensitive and all this stuff lately. But it's like, what's wrong with just respecting somebody's wishes, or just like having a respect for just being a person? Like, I don't think that that's drawing any kind of line. And if you think that they're too, like, you don't need to listen to their music. You don't need to like them. Like, you can just move on about your day and be with people who you think are everything that you need in life. Like, just shut your yap about it. I think that's more of what it becomes an issue of it. It's just like, okay, well then move on. Like, stop going after people. Like, that's where your voice is just like, okay, then don't have it show up on your feed. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. I think it also draws up a point that, like, this is not the first time that an artist has had issues like this, nor has an artist publicly said something as this. But I think because Chappell is so much in the spotlight right now, and she's been kind of like, I think this also saves her a lot of, like, I think heartbreak later on with, if she did get a little angry at fans and stuff for being too overstimulated and stuff like that, it also kind of does protect her from anyone saying anything to, like, negatively impact her career. There are people that are just jerks to people. And, like, that is a completely different issue. There are celebrities that take that celebrityness and are just plain out jerks. And you can call them out all day long. But notice the difference between somebody that is just asking, and because she's doing it early on, that is her setting a boundary. She said that from the get-go. I think that's why people are actually taking it and digesting it and letting it sit and be like, wow, she's right. Yeah. But I think it was the band Perry's Kimberly Perry. She used to let guys kiss her on the cheek. And then one time, or she would kiss them on the cheek or something like that. Okay. But then after one time, a guy, like, turned his head really fast and kissed her on the lips. And then you can't do stuff like that. Nope. Stuff like that happens to women a lot. I mean, Taylor Swift, again, not to bring her up because, and I know that this was like a controversial settlement, but the reason she did the whole $1 court case was because she was inappropriately touched, and it was more to make the point of, like, hey, this is not okay. Right. Period. Like, it's never okay. Why is it ever okay just because you're X, Y, and Z person? And this, again, is just normalizing and humanizing people that are musicians and artists and stuff like that. And why do we put them all on pedestals and stuff? And it's great to be an admirer of somebody's work and really give them the recognition, because arts are such like you either are Taylor Swift level success, or you're the homeless person on the street who can barely afford rent because he's playing for tips out of a bucket every day. So, like, art is a very extreme thing. And because it's so subjective as well, like, you never know what's going to take off, and you never are in complete control, unless it's back in the day when, like, it was truly up to the bigwig people, and, like, that was it. And you were fed what you were listened to. Like, you were force fed, essentially, because that was it. So I think that was, first of all, a lot to talk about, and gave hopefully a lot to digest. Again, I don't want to be out of my place in saying things I've never experienced. Well, even I've had some creepy people that have come up to me. Again, it's just like the second that somebody is on a stage like that, it puts this weird curtain up in front of people's eyes that it's like, I can't actually hurt them. Like, I can't actually, like, it's like a weird dynamic. And I think the Kimberly Perry thing, but, like, then she had to stop telling people that, oh, sorry, I can't do the fun kiss stuff anymore because bad things have happened like that. And, you know, we all try to, like, again, with the viral moments of having, like, fun little things like that, but, like, there are people that, like, consistently buy meet and greet passes just to, like, be creepy at a meet and greet and stuff like that, and they've just got to smile through it a lot. But it's just like, it should never be the norm of just having to smile through it. Can you think of any other times like that?
No, not for like meet and greets and stuff. I know like Carly Pierce had a pretty like big blow up that was everywhere.
I saw that. Yeah.
I think that's, I guess, another thing of like the guy was just kind of like, I think, heckling, but like maybe show some respect and don't say that.
She had made like a joke on stage of about her relationship or something.
No, she was like, let me tell you a little bit about myself, and he said no one cares.
Yes, okay, that's what it was.
And so she's like, get out of my show. And they took him out. But I just feel like you didn't need to make that remark, like, just
especially because he was front row and it was her concert, and I'm like,
well, it was a festival, but still,
it was
like,
but why were you standing right in the front,
artist,
like,
regardless of
so
if it's
weird.
their show or a festival? Like, you should still be respecting people when they're on stage,
yeah,
or just respect people in general. But yeah, other than that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head of examples of stuff.
Yeah,
I guess there's the commercial guy that I referenced earlier, but it was just another person who like stitched the video. And he said even him of like, he was in some commercial and it was like circulated around just some small region. And so he would get people coming up to him all the time, and like he'd be out to dinner with his wife, and he would even have women come like hit on him in front of his wife and stuff. And it's like, even that small of a thing of he was in one commercial and people feel entitled to like come up and talk to him and stuff just because he put himself in the public eye.
Yeah. I know. I was gonna say something. Crap, I forget. Like, it is cool, like, the first couple times that people get recognized, like, it makes you feel like a little, like, ego boost. Like, there is some of that, like, when I've been listening to, Two Girls, One Ghost, and like the first couple times Sabrina or Corinne's been recognized, and she's like, it's so cool. And like, it is cool when you start getting recognized for the work that you are doing, because that's the only way that you know that like it is actually reaching people, like, especially for them, they're podcasters, so they sit behind a mic and then they just don't even put faces to anything. But like when you're out in and as a singer and stuff like that, you're seeing people directly, you kind of have that immediate response. But even so, when you're putting out projects and all this stuff, like, and you don't do a lot of shows and stuff, maybe you don't see that as much. So like, it is cool when you start to get recognized for like the work that you're doing and everything like that. But especially because we have social media nowadays, you can put everything online and then just like let them alone. Like, it's okay to just separate that. And some people really do love when you come up to them, like, but they've made that clear in their career of like, hey, you can come say hi, just don't make it obvious, or stuff like that, you know, like, it's also just the way that you approach, and don't feel, I think it's hard when people say no, and I've gotten that before too, like, you want to take it really personal, like, oh, it must just not be me, especially because then even like you can start comparing yourself to other people, like, oh, I must not have been pretty, or oh, I must not have been X, Y, and Z, when it's really more about where they are and what they're doing and what their context is for everything. I know somebody was really upset about, I saw they were backstage for Funny Girl, and Leah Michelle came out and was signing playbills, and she had a cup and she said, don't meet your heroes, and it went viral because she didn't sign the cup. And they were like, she's only signing playbills, I think it's in their contract that they can only sign paybills or something like that. And she took that as, we'll never meet your heroes, because she didn't want to sign the one thing that I had. Now, would it have maybe been like, I mean, but there were so many people crowding around and stuff like that, but like, would it have maybe been nice for somebody to say like, hey, she can only sign playbills, to like explain it? Yeah, sure. But like, she did smile at the girl. Like, I don't think it was like an ill-intentioned kind of thing, you know? And I don't want to get into the whole drama with Blake Lively right now, but there's like one clip, which I felt like she was fine doing, but she was given a friendship bracelet on like a red carpet, and she said that she wasn't going to wear it like right in the moment because it doesn't go with her outfit. And I guess they took offense to that. But if you were putting hours into this like outfit for
a big event like that, like, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to have pictures with just like a random bracelet.
Well, that
on,
and like
and
you
she
never
can wear
know.
it
There might
later.
be like a stylist kind of thing. Like if there might be like some contractual
Yeah.
things with like what you're allowed to wear and stuff like
Right.
that with some things. I was gonna say too. Did you see that Taylor's mom can't?
Yeah,
take
she
friendship
can't take
bracelets
them anymore. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't take them.
Yeah, and I think especially when people are just like nice to you about it, like you should really like, yeah, it's gonna suck in the moment because like, damn, you had your
Right,
one
but-
viral moment that you thought was gonna
Yeah.
happen, and yes, you can see the like people that have the same interactions with that same celebrity, and it just sucks. I get all of that, trust me, but being on the other side of it now and seeing a lot of shit, it's just like. You just got to learn not to take it personally, unfortunately, and just know that it might just not have been the right time for them. And that's perfectly fine, too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
happy Wednesday, everybody.
I think it's an important topic. So
It is.
it
It's
is
something
good to
that I think
discuss.
this is, while it might not be a discussion that Chappell wants to have because it's just her personal views, and that's totally respectable. I think it is a conversation just to be had about the industry as a whole for
Right.
how people should react to other people.
If you have any thoughts or like personal experiences or anything, you could send them to the Music Lens podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear your side of things and just kind of like get some
We'd
other
love to
thoughts
hear
on
your
it.
weird stories at shows. We'd love to
Weird
hear
stories. It doesn't have to be
songwriting
related to this.
stories.
Literally anything with being an artist that you want to share experience wise. And then maybe we can
you've had some creepy
compile.
encounters even as a small artist. Like I'd love to hear. I mean, I've definitely had some people that I don't think they had creepy intentions, but the way they came across was a little like,
Yeah.
I'm really not anybody huge, so like why do you have pictures of me? It's a little weird. Like
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, send all that stuff to our email, and you can follow us on socials at the Music Lens Podcast. Catch up with us, see us when we're posting our episodes, things like that. You can follow Alex at Alex Allegra Music on all the things, and then Alex. Oh, I can't talk. Well, when I said follow, it sounded really weird because I was gonna say a different word at the same time, and then my brain just continued to think about that. So if any of that sounded weird, that's why. At Katie Fee Music on all the things for myself, and we'll see you
guys
next week.
time. Bye.
Bye.